What's going on, everyone? My name is Victor, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build an input field. So the first thing we need to do is figure out the anatomy of an input field. So we're going to go over here to our input field with a top aligned label and all the icons and the helper text and all the different pieces of an input field that you would use. So the first thing we have here is our top aligned outside label. You may have seen this aligned somewhere along the top of the input field itself or on the outside. So either way works. And then you have your input text. This lets the user know what it is they're supposed to be typing in that area, or what it is that kind of the length that they should be typing. We'll talk about how the size or length of the input field should kind of give a hint to that. Your different icons that you can have, your leading icon, and then your kind of secondary icon over here, and then your helper text. Helper text can be anything from letting the user know that there's been an error. I think some people refer to it as error text, but it can also be used to let somebody know additional information. For example, enter your country, and at the bottom it could say, if country not listed, list other, or something along those lines. So those are the different pieces of the input field that you could use. So if you want to have more information about all the different pieces that go into an input field, why it's there, how it's supposed to be used, then check out the link below in the description, and I have a link there out to more information. So while building this input field, we're going to be using the design system that we've been creating. If you haven't watched my previous video, I strongly advise you go back and check out styles, and that'll show you how to build the different elements that will be used on basically every component. For example, we have the color here, we have the typography styles, the colors and things like icons, corner radiuses, shadows. All of these different things are going to be used. I'll go over briefly what needs to be included and how to build the symbols to put all this together, but we won't be going into detail here. So again, if you haven't watched that video, go back and check out styles. So I'm just going to go over here and create responsive web and just go to desktop, and that's fine. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is build our content container, our input container. I'm going to insert an input field so that we know what we're creating. Insert, document, molecules, input, and we're going to go with a medium with both icons. Outside label, no button, like perfect. All right, that's plenty big to see. I'm going to put this here. All right, so there's a lot going on here. It looks simple, seems simple, but there's a lot going on. So the first thing that we need to build is our content container. Now that's this area right here, and it's everything that's marked in the blue, or just the background part of the blue, and that's going to house your icons and your text, your input text. So we're going to go down here and create this rectangle by selecting R on your keyboard for rectangle. And we're actually going to make this a square. We're going to make this, let's just make it 48 by 48. The reason is because we're not quite ready to put it into this format yet. We're going to create a symbol with this. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to change my corner radius to 8. I'm going to remove the border and change the fill to white. Select it, and we're going to create a symbol. We're going to call this atoms container round. I put on round as a reference to the corner radiuses. Sometimes you can have square, so you might put square, which I have some that are like that, but they all have different purposes. So we're going to create that. And here over in the symbols page, you can see this is what you get. So you get a container, an artboard with, seems like there's nothing in there, but if we zoom in, we can actually have a shadow applied here. So you can see there's a corner radius with a corner radius, the rounded shadow behind it. And we have atoms, containers. I guess it doesn't get too much bigger, it stays the same size. Atoms, containers, round. So over on the left here, this is atoms, container, round. This is our actual symbol here, and we have 3 layers. We have our outline layer, we have our color layer, and we have our shadow layers. Again, we're not going to get into the details of this. Go and check out the styles video if you want to see how this is put together, but we have one layer that has our styles defined, none, outline, neutral, and we have a few other options for our outlines, neutral, white default, white thick, and you can also go to outline and some other options that are available. We have our color, which is the container color, so we can go in here and change that to whatever we want it to be. We can even go into the document and change it to, one of the primary, secondary, or color 1, 2, or 3. And then lastly, we have our shadow layer, which allows us to change it between shadow 1, 2, and 3, or none. All right, so we're going to go back to the styles. We're going to go back to our input. And now that we have that created into a component, we're going to delete this because this is just a shape now. We're going to insert. Actually, we're going to create a rectangle. And we're going to change this to 40 by 400. Perfect. Now, we just have a container here, so we're going to replace this with atoms, container, round. I have some other ones in here, but this is the one we're focusing on for today. Boom. All right. So now you see it looks identical to the one above. The next thing we're going to add is some text. We're going to add in our text layer here. We're going to type in top aligned outside label. Now, when you create this, turn this into a symbol, you can still edit it. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can still edit it when you place it as a symbol, but you won't have as many options to interchange your text with your font with other color options or other sizes as quickly if you don't go and create all of your typography styles. So make sure you check that out. It's a huge time saver, especially when you have to make global changes across 50 artboards. Going in and saying, hey, you know what, my caption text, instead of being 9 point, it's a little too small, I want it to be 11. So you go in and change it at one location, change it across the board. You may still have to do some tweaking, but for the most part, it'll save you a ton of time. So now that we have our label, top aligned label, I'm sorry, I'm spelling label wrong here. And we have our content container, we need to add a few more elements. So let's go ahead and bring this down here. I'll show you what I mean about switching my text style. Actually, let's go in here and create this document, desktop tablet, caption, dark, left, and regular. All right, perfect. That just happened to be the default that it was set to. We're going to go in here and go to our document, desktop and tablet, body, dark, left. Actually, we're going to go to gray. Might be a little too light, so let's just check this real quick. Left, regular, text. All right, perfect. By having the grayed out text, it lets the user know that that isn't the final text. It's letting them know what to type in. So you could put in something like IE requested information. Perfect. All right, let's make sure that these two are aligned. Good. And then we're going to place an icon. So we're going to our atoms, icons, and we're going to create just a random icon. I like to keep it consistent. I actually had a question mark icon at one point, but I don't have it right now. So right now we're just going to do chevron down. I find a lot of times when you're using your secondary icon, a lot of them will be down chevron. All right, I bring that in with a shift, right click, right arrow for 8 pixels in. Working on an 8 pixel grid. I like to keep this space 8 pixels away as well. So now we have 8 pixels here, 8 pixels there. Keeps it well spaced. And then we're going to just copy, drag this by holding Shift Command to keep it parallel, and then Option to duplicate. So we're going to drag it all the way to the edge, hold Shift and left arrow. All right, now we're going to create the helper text. The helper text comes down here, and I'm going to align it to the bottom of the container, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 is a little too much for me, but by still staying on that 8 pixel kind of grid logic, we'll go with 4 and just cut that smallest increment in half. All right, so it isn't being aligned with anything else either, so it doesn't matter that much. All right, so we're going to put this, we're actually not going to include this container behind it. We're just going to put in helper text. All right. And just to make it a little more clear what this is for, we're going to go to caption. We're going to go info text, error, left, regular. Perfect. Now it's red. Okay. So now that we have all of our components, we're going to grab this all here and we're going to create a symbol. Create symbol. All right, so the previous symbol name that we have is in there. We're going to, because this has multiple atoms to create a more complex component, this is going to be a molecule. You can define molecules and atoms and organisms however you want. That's what works for me. So I'm going to call this molecules input. And just for this, I'm going to call it default test. All right, we're going to create that. Now that it is an input, a symbol, you can see over here by these little rotating arrows, we could actually double click this element and go straight to it in the symbols window. So I want to double click this, and you see we have molecules, input, default test. All right. So the one thing that you want to make sure to make this as functional and useful as possible is that everything is responsive. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click this. I'll show you what I mean. We're going to click adjust content on resize. And then we're going to come over here, select our artboard, and just drag the right side of it. And you can see everything's kind of getting out of whack here. Not very useful for us when we need to use the same component for mobile forms, desktop forms, and different sizes like social security number or credit card number. It has to adjust. So this isn't very useful to us right now unless everything is going to look exactly the same. So let's address this. First, I always go one element at a time, and we need to know what this is going to be used for or how it's going to be adjusted on the screen. This isn't going to be getting adjusted vertically. I still like to adjust it for that, but mostly you're making sure that it doesn't change or get distorted when you adjust it horizontally. So I'm going to go over here. We're going to start with the top left. And because you don't know what the text at the top is going to be, I like to allow it to be flexible. So I'm going to extend this all the way to the left. Your text will still remain left-aligned, but we want to make sure that this text can be typed all the way across the width of the container, the input container, and otherwise it'll drop down to a second line, and we definitely don't want that to happen. All right, so we're going to go over here and say align the right side of this container to the right side of the artboard, align the left side to the left side, and make sure it stays connected to the top, aligned to the top. So now we're going to just test. All right, and we see nothing moves. Perfect. That's exactly how we want it. We're going to go over to our icon here, and we're going to say, don't change height or width. So it needs to stay fixed. You saw it was getting skewed before. Now you see it's moving, but it isn't getting skewed. So we're going to select this one more time. We're going to say stay aligned left. And now it's staying put. Now, like I said, I also like to just make sure it stays aligned to the top, but we won't be adjusting it that way, so it's all good. This same thing, we want to make sure it stays aligned to the left and to the top. Also, we want to have this be able to type as much text as there is room in the container. And you see it's automatically letting me know, hey, do you want this to be the same distance as the other one? Yes, I want it to be 8 pixels. So now, I'm sorry, let's align it to the right as well. So now when I bring this in, you can see the container is still 8 pixels away from there. All right, so let's move a little quicker here. Don't change height or width. Align to the right of the container and align to the top. I'm going to select this background one. This can adjust it. Actually, let's just say align to the top, align to the left, align to the right, and don't change your height. Helper text, stay aligned to the left, to the top, and you can change your width, but don't change your height. So we're going to adjust this all the way across, just like the outside label text. Now we have a lot of control over this. So we're going to return to our input and delete this just to show that it's working. We're going to go to Insert, Document, Molecules, Input, and Default Test is how we labeled it. So see we have it here. Just going to align it with the one above. And now let's explore some of the things that we can do with this. So when you click this, if everything is labeled properly, you have full control over every element that you just built in here. So let's look at the first one. We have our atoms, icon, chevron, down, copy. This is copied. You can go in and relabel it, whatever you want. Matter of fact, I'll show you right here. Let's click this. Just change this layer to right icon. Go back, and now you see it's labeled right icon. That makes it a lot easier when going through this list to identify what you are adjusting. And so the cool thing about icons is if you build them correctly, all in the same size container, you can replace them with any other icon that exists. So I'm going to go in and create it just with a cancel. All right, so now that I've changed it to a cancel, over here, what are we canceling? So I'm going to click this one and go down and say, what's something that's pretty common that we have available? Let's do phone. All right, so now we have a mobile icon and a cancel button, a clear button. With the information requested, the label input text, we're going to actually put something in here like a number. So let's put in 555-555-5555. Well, that's too many numbers. 55. Okay. We're going to hit enter. But if the person entered in the text and you're putting together a mock-up to show that they've entered in the text, and this is what happens when they do that, you don't want it to look grayed out because now it looks inactive. So we're going to go over to our little area down here to change that style to desktop, style, then tablet, body, dark, left, and regular. So now it looks like what it would if somebody actually typed something in. For helper text, we're going to change this. Actually, we're just going to get rid of it. So you can actually just hit spacebar, tab, and that clears it out. So now it looks like a real working thing. Then we have last thing, I believe, second to last, we have our top aligned outside outside label, and we're gonna say phone number. Cool. Let's actually update this clear so it's a little bit more noticeable to the user, and go to this document, colors, solid, notifications, and error. We'll use the error color for just cancel or clear, which is pretty familiar to most people. The last thing that we can do is adjust our content container. So like I said before, we have those 3 layers. This is our atoms container round, and we're going to go to outline, and we're going to change this because it's successful and it's been done correctly. We're going to go to our outlines, notification, and success, and let the user know, hey, this has been done successfully. And I think that's basically all we need to do. So you have all those other options that you built into this. So just to show you some other varieties or different ways you can mix and match these items, here are a few other things you can do. So we have different icons, air, outline. This was built directly into the symbol. We have clear, changing colors, changing the drop shadow, and even changing the text to a bold if you wanted to do that. So the options are not endless, but it is pretty flexible, and you're able to do all of this just by building from the ground up, starting with your styles. Again, check out that video, styles, design system styles, and you can make this an entire form using the same component. So I hope this was helpful. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button down below and follow me for the remaining videos on this series. We'll be covering everything that's over on this list: sliders, testimonials, buttons, footers, grid settings, and we'll be going through a whole myriad of things. So again, my name is Victor, and this is How to Build a Design System.